Hello, hello! Welcome to the grand finals of the European Open Cup number 134. Nailed it. Bottom left of Tropical Sacrifice, it is Liquid Clem. And top right is the Blue Terran, it is time. Kaisi? He's on Kaisi? I was gonna do something. What was I gonna do? There we go. I had to message someone about something, so now that we're done with that, we can talk about the TvT. Time was, you know, joke complaining about it being 4 in the morning for him. And saying to Clem, 2 racks, go, go, go. But he knows what he's in for. He signed up for today's tournaments that began for him at midnight. And, you know, also a terrible, terrible ping. So he is just joking. I mean, serious joking, you know? Like, I'm actually super tired and maybe hating my decision right now, but I know what I got myself into. That type of statement. But despite all the things working against Time, he's doing really well. To get to the finals of a European Open Cup in Time's position against the players that he has to play against, this isn't some $10 weekly where like 2 pros sign up or something like that, is damn impressive. And I'm not actually sure why he does it. I'm not sure why he's here. I guess one could certainly argue that the Korean Open Cup is still more difficult to do, but it's not like you have to pick or choose. He might just actually be wanting to play on all the Open Cups today. Although how he would play in North America after this would be beyond me. That'd be insane. But then yeah, why not play in North America? That starts at kind of a reasonable time. Not really, but kind of, right? And kind of reasonable ping. I don't know. I don't know. He just wants to play it today. Since it is the European Open Cup, it is just on the European server. So Clem is opening up with a command center as well as Time, but Clem's opener involves a lot of Reapers still being produced. So factory expand to I want to say this is a factory expand, but maybe it wasn't. It's a bit faster. Anyways, one of them is actually dedicating to a lot of units, so the one is moving on with their life. Going up to maybe a Cyclone and a Raven. Probably a Cyclone and a Raven. So, you know, generally considered a bit of a greedier opener here from Time. Only 1 Reaper, only 1 Hellion, especially the 1 Reaper part of the build. Pretty greedy. Absolutely 0 scouting from Time as well, where Clem at least saw that there was a command center on the way. So how is this going to unfold? 4 Reapers, 5 Reapers going to the main base, of which there are very little defense. I mean, this Hell will get quite a good shot initially, but it's going to need a few more shots to actually be impactful. And you can see... Okay, good. Last second target fire was good there from Time to at least make it 3 Reapers instead of 4. 2 of them which are severely injured, but Hellion's also getting into the natural, looking for some SCD kills. Gonna find at least a few. Reapers are still not able to find more damage. Okay, alright, fair enough. Wanted to pair up with the Hellion by looks of things. A little late to doing so. Gonna take what Marines they can get and get the heck out of there. So all in all, good defense from Time. 3 ICVs for all that. All that went down. Clem lost 3 Hellions in the natural without doing more damage. So that was probably the biggest bummer. And then the Reapers not quite able to be healthy enough to run around on that SCV line. Means that Clem should be behind in a couple of, well, at least one way, I would say. Yeah, there it is. So the Raven and Tank is a little bit farther behind here for Clem. It's not really that bad, though, is it? 3rd CC, similar time. assuming that he doesn't go into triple Raven, his stim will still start around a similar time. Yeah, really not too bad at all. Time's gonna get some revenge on the SCV line. He loses 2 more SCVs. I guess maybe the Reapers hopped up. I'm actually not sure where those 2 SCVs of Time died. But they did. And 2 SCVs of Clem died of the auto turret, I can tell you that much. And now we get 5 SCVs that Clem has lost to the Raven. As 1... Cyclone was made for Clem? Oh, okay, so it wasn't in position initially, and then it got into position. It's still alive. Okay, yeah, actually the Cyclone is completely useless. Gets an F. Failed at its job. Scan from Time? Maybe wanted to see if it was going to be a 3 Raven build, or actually if there was going to be faster Vikings perhaps as well, but sees the transfer over onto the reactor only just now. And also saw the timing of the tech lab. So, you know, with that scan, I think he was actually able to tell that it was a triple Raven opener. So he's got to be scared of this burst push onto his 3rd, which he's a little less defended for than maybe he wanted to be. But it looks like it will be good enough. Good enough? Good enough? Good enough? Good enough? Okay, the tank does go down. Whew. If there are still 2 tanks up and running, I'd be a little scared. I think only 1 tank and the Ravens... Not too much energy left on them. I think Time is good on the defense. Because that'd be the scariest thing about not realizing that it's a triple Raven, is that maybe you didn't expect a burst push onto your 3rd base. Because that could have easily been Time not sieged up. Not with his Ravens in position. His tanks too far away sieged up, right? It could have been all of those things. And even now, technically, his tanks are still kind of too far sieged away. Since the command center is being attacked and he can't do anything about it. So it is still a bit sketch, but one big thing that Time now has going for him, if he can hold, is that he's got Stim already done. So you can see that coming in here, able to spread his units a little bit. Medevac's also prepared, and that'll be good enough. Very important that Time did do a little bit of a splits, a little bit of a spready on those Marines, because without combat shields, they were in serious danger to the tank fire. If they all just came in one big clump right here, Medevacs or no, they would have been dead. So Time handles this, I mean, kind of as... I don't know if we can say gracefully. That was a lot of chaos right there, but he manages to handle it. And he's even trying to get a couple of Ravens, which not going to happen. Good save there from Clem to save 2 Ravens instead of losing every single one is really quite good. And now Clem is at I think, decent enough army supply to hold on. 2 Ravens to 2, but Clem also has these 4 Vikings that are going to really help take care of his opponent's Ravens. Time might just try and sack them is exactly what he's going to do. Oh, he's going to try and save them if he can, but I think it is almost acceptable to sack them at this point. The interference pitches went down exactly as it should have, taken that frontline tank out of the equation. Clem is holding on as well as he can, handling the chaos, but he is at a very disadvantageous scenario without the same amount of fodder, basically. Look at the concave that Time sets up here to go on top of the tanks, on top of the SCVs, on top of everything that Clem has. 18 SCVs have gone down, and while his push might eventually have to retreat or just be straight up cleaned up, looks like it'll be cleaned up, he already did a lot of damage. Good control on the Vikings to save them. They landed to kill this tank, and then they got up and landed to kill this tank, all before the reinforcements came back. Looks like Clem's double Ravens that's survived. Came back in to delay the 4th command center and kill a couple of more SCVs beyond that, but he's got to do a little bit more work there. A little bit more work. Clem might not really be all that far down in SCVs. He's actually not in as worse of a position as you would think. Let's check the income and see what happened there. Yeah, so it looks like spikes are on Time's side, but a little more consistent on the mining for Clem has helped balance things out, even though he lost a tremendous amount of SCVs, 23 compared to 9. How about that? And that his 4th CC isn't even that much later than Time. Time takes advantage of his map control and his presence with his, you want to say, better situation after the break, but then also certainly because of his faster stealing combat shields. So he takes it on location, but Time really is not that far ahead in the command center timing. I feel like I would not have been surprised if after the kerfuffle on the 3rd, the 4th CC only just started. I'd have been like, yeah, that sucks. But, you know, Clem had to be behind somewhere. No, not even the case. Clem's still very much in the running in this game. Got his own upgrades done. Is about 30 seconds behind in the 2-2. Maybe that'll impact a fight. But I think more importantly, he's going to make sure not to be out of position. That is classic TvT for you. So he does have some spotters around before he has his sensor tower on the 4th set up. Very important. That saves his 4th base's life as he repositions his tanks. And maybe his sensor tower now. Maybe him start in the main base as well. It's looking a little sketch for both of them. But no one actually out with drops quite yet. So far, very even on the production. Both of them already with their 2 factories. It is Time who's going to lead the charge on transferring over into starports, though, which makes sense, because you think that he's a little bit ahead. He's up 12 army supplies, ahead by those 30, 40 seconds on the 2-2. He's got a little bit more control in this game, and certainly his army actually has a presence on Clem's side of the map, where Clem is just on the back foot. He's defensive. But you can't really just be defensive, right? And he certainly doesn't have to be. He has the income to go into his own starports. Maybe... Let's check the income graph again. Yeah, he's fine. He's fine. There's a huge spike for Clem there. I was gonna say, maybe he doesn't, keep up with the supply. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. This is really bold from Time. Holy shit, this is bold. What the hell? Anti-armor missile up a ramp through a choke against the tanks being sieged? Yeah, that wasn't supposed to go well, right? That was a bit cray. That was just a bit crazy there from Time. Who I guess really thought he could force the issue. And you know what? If there wasn't a 5th command center creating even more of a choke, maybe he's right. Maybe 20 Marines are all concaved on the bottom side and still doing damage. I don't know, but that was bold. That was very bold. And unfortunately, during that same time, Time was under attack from a drop in the main base, which was cleaned up rather effectively, very quickly indeed. 5 SCVs went down, not a super big deal, but just one very big problem with the attack up the ramp, and a very minor problem means that altogether, Time has created some problems for himself. So Clem might even be able to take advantage of this and move across the map, at least to start gaining control over the map, like Time just had, but kind of gave away. Right now, Clem is not moving out at all. Just losing the rest of his drop there. And then expanding to the 5th base himself. There we go, now we have to move out. So he'll be able to reinforce this tank push with Viking Raven more effectively than Time. Time gave away a lot of his supply before he had actually kind of fully transitioned. I mean, they're neither one of them are fully transitioned over into Viking Raven, but Time was even later too on that Viking part. So he's really in one of the worst cases that he could have found himself in, despite how the game was otherwise going. Because if you actually give up that control when you're not straight up maybe even winning the air superiority, and then you are forced to take the back foot and defend with tanks for someone who has Raven Viking, that's exactly what Raven Viking is designed to try and break, is someone who is on the back foot relying purely on tanks to help them live throughout this TvT. So Clem now has a very dominating 40 supply lead because his type of supply is also very good. He also took an advantage on the 3-3 as well. It really was that moment. It was 30 seconds of Time's game that has ruined the overall 14-15 minutes that this game is going to be. Which actually, it might even go longer because it's Terran vs. Terran, guys. I don't tell you. It might go even longer. It might just go into 20 minutes for all I know. But, this is theoretically the best case scenario for Clem. The type of scenario that actually does end in victory because he was able to take advantage so well of the transition point. GG. But, if you want to, I don't know, give Time some credit, it is like 4 in the morning, so we're all gonna make some silly mistakes. The top right of Data C, now up a game. It is Clem. Bottom left, we have Time. Time was in a really great position last time. Last game. He had defended Clem's early aggression quite well, which didn't give him a remarkable lead, but was nice. And then he was able to counterattack and deal 17 SCVs worth of damage. Sounds fantastic.
Apparently you are.
And while that still did not give Time an undeniably large lead, it did give him a lead. And I thought with the way that he was playing the game out, a bit of a faster fourth command center, a bit faster those upgrades, a bit faster the starport, and then actually out on the map, kind of dictating the pace of the game, I thought that Time really had it under control. But then, a little overzealous, a little overconfident when it came to the Marine push up that fourth base. Comboed with the drop that, I guess, did delay the engineering base. I mean, the upgrades weren't really what killed him at the end of the day, but just mostly the push up the ramp, right? It was kind of one decision that ended the game. Yeah, like 90% one decision that ended the game. Because unless Clem had lost... Maybe if Clem... I guess if Clem had lost these amount of tanks in an exchange like that, so maybe it's still ultimately worse for Time, but Clem only has 4 tanks left to push with, it's probably not as bad. But Clem had everything they really needed. He had a full production suite of starports to get Viking, Raven across the map, so he already had the Viking lead. And then he also had 8-9 tanks to correctly set up. Because if he, again, had like 4 tanks going across the map, I think that actually means that Time can find some wiggle room. Maybe he can get those faster Marine reinforcements on his side of the map and then overwhelm Clem, because Clem doesn't have that stupid Raven count that just throws down 1 billion auto turrets. But no, Clem had everything that he needed, which was really tank, Viking, Raven, ultimate composition. Thank you, Jed TN, for the 17 months. So I'd love to say if Time does the same thing, he won't make the same mistake, but it is going up to 5 in the morning where he is right now, and you know, mistakes just get worse at that point. So we'll see. Surprisingly enough, Time is not eager to be aggressive. Yeah, he's not going for a 3rd Reaper. So he is willing to play out a bit of the longer TvT. And nowadays, the TvT meta usually goes to, you know, if it gets to 8 minutes, it's going to go to 16 minutes. You know what I mean? I feel like the amount of times that we have a really epic back and forth 150 supply for both sides, Marine tank, mid-game, I feel like that's in the past. So many of these TvTs, maybe the build orders really matter, maybe the first tank push with Ravens really matters, but if nothing matters a tremendous amount at those points, you get to Marine tank versus Marine tank, it's like 70% of the TvTs are going to go to another 6 minutes. That's what it certainly feels like. And then there's, you know, 30% of the TvTs that have those, well, this should just, you know, balance out, guys. Like, no one's going to die right now, and then someone's severely out of position. You're like, okay, fair enough. But yeah, so many of the TvTs are getting really long. So medevac drop on the way. So this would be more on the, you know, if the build works out well for Clem and he takes the super easy victory, well, good for him. Maybe it will be a super effective, but a drop like this I don't think is usually game-ending effective. It's not like a Marauder Hellion drop push thing. And it is Clem. Oh, Jesus. It is Clem who's being really aggressive. As Time, again, committing to just a very solid defensive setup on 2 bases. He is... Oh, okay, no, that's a supply depot. I thought that was a 4th gas. Nope. So yeah, probably just gonna go into bio versus bio. Here comes Clem's push. He's already taken care of the Widow Mine. Now he's just got to worry about his opponent's Cyclone. The auto turret's also going to help, and a tank pops out, and I think that's going to be it. Yep. Had Time not been paying attention, perhaps his Cyclone was a bit more on the front. Maybe the Cyclone of Clem locks on immediately. Yeah, they were talking about a snowball, but even then the tank was really, really close to coming out. And time is all on top of the attempted harassment, so Clem's opener, so far ineffective, but it's still alive, so it's yet to be effective, maybe? Could always do something later on. And Clem does move on to his own third CC. Which, you know, if he had actually gone for a third CC on location with the opener, would have made sense, but he didn't actually know what time was doing. So there's always that chance they're both doing a medevac drop, and it would have gotten really weird if he went so greedy. I think the only good decision I've ever made at 5 a.m. is to finally go to bed. Maybe also schedule like a food delivery for my hungover self. Maybe also that. Clem realizing that his tank fire would have caused more damage. It already did. It already helped the Reapers get a couple of last second kills. 6 SCVs go down for Time's very minimal commitment of 2 Reapers. That's very nice. Very nice for Time. Still not super game changing since he's only up 3 workers. He's going to be a little bit later to his third CC. Much more important is Clem's first push, once again, going for the triple Raven. Gonna look to try and just break down Time's defenses. And to be honest, if he just gets to the third location before Time's tanks are there, that's already super effective. He'll have a super faster third command center if he does that. Exactly this. This is really concerning now for Time. Who, by the way, is doing an excellent job keeping in mind that there is a medevac looking to get into the main base. Let's see if the timing works out as... Oh, Jesus. Okay, the Cyclone. Yeah, it's not going to actually go close enough. Oh, my gosh. Oh, that sucks. That sucks. Sim is not anywhere close to being done for Clem since he went for that triple Raven. But he manages to save the medevac, a boost, and unload. Just literally 2 Marines, not a super big deal. But that was... an appetizer. That was a side dish. That was the potatoes that ZombieGrub doesn't like. This is the steak. And this is a beautiful timing on the Unsiege. Because it might look like it's still going to be bad. He loses 1 tank. He's probably going to lose a second one as well. It could have been all 3 tanks right off the bat. So I think this is better than nothing. But now it is Time's time to shine. Son of a bitch. As he's got the Viking count to bully away his opponent's Ravens, although the auto turrets are already coming down here, and the Ravens might still end up being what makes a difference. Oh yeah, for sure. For sure. Those auto turrets plus the little remnants of army for Clem getting any semblance of a concave means that Time's still mostly tank-based push was stopped in its tracks. Time's gonna finally get his third CC down location, but he's behind 7 SCVs and just overall generally worse mining as we watch the income graph climb high for Clem, and he gets a faster 4th command center. Sensor tower coming down to make sure he doesn't get bopped, although it really is quite unlikely that he would, even if he was out of position. We're talking about 1 tank for Time. That's not gonna do very much. And now Clem just needs to make sure that he has combat shields. That would be very safe. If he just waits for combat shields, he's not gonna wait. Clem does what he wants. That would be the ultimate safe move. He's not going to wait. He's going to pounce. It is still only 1 tank. On Siege or Siege, not that impressive. So a little bit of a spread for his Marines. And he will ultimately take the engagement, although really not as well as he maybe was hoping. Had Time not retreated initially, maybe it would have been better for Clem, but regardless. So Clem... much faster 4th command center, much faster. Time started 20 seconds ago, but on location, so there's something. But Clem is behind in upgrades. Now, how long will that last? Time's armory is done. He fits in +2 attack, and he's still a little shy on the cash to get +2 weapons. Armor. There we go. All in all, fairly close on the resources lost. Actually, Clem has lost more resources. Additional Raven. more SCVs, I guess. A second Cyclone. Okay, there you go. Very even. So despite a huge interruption in Time's mining, this is a lot of money that Clem was able to intake. It's not really resulted in a huge difference. So if we're going to go to 8 minutes, we're going to go to 14 minutes. That's my new TvT rule, guys. We do have a key difference in their decisions with the post-4 base production, I guess, is what, yeah, I guess what it is. And that is 8 barracks versus additional starports. So Time is adding on 3 more barracks, not more starports. It's a decision. It is a decision. Is it the right decision? I don't know. I want to say no, but who am I to say that? Time's much better than I am. Thing is, it's going to give you a lot of units to play around with, but kind of, you know, theoretically, the way the why TvT is like the way that it is right now is that it is improbable. It's not likely you're gonna kill your opponent with pure Marine tank in today's TvT. I feel like 4 years ago, it was still very likely that they're gonna be found out of position, but I think one of the things that happens faster is a better... Well, not faster, but one thing that gets, I guess, more proven in an RTS, because we saw this in at least StarCraft 1 and StarCraft 2. I actually don't want to think about Brood War Age of Empires, so... in StarCraft RTS, is that, like, defending gets better, right? We went from being 1 base to being kind of typical, like, 4 base in TvT. And yes, that has a lot to do with the maps as well and the expansions, okay, sure, but... Like, and now we're in a point where, yeah, I think 5 years ago, 4 base to 4 base would still be a lot more Marine tank action. Now it's mostly about who can get to the better army, which is getting into the Viking Raven. But perhaps I spoke too soon. Actually, some very awkward engagement for Clem as Time comes in with a big ol' surround. Clem had no idea. He had no idea he was walking right onto that Venus flytrap. Time was more than happy to take advantage of that. Now with a 30, almost 40 army supply lead. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Clem was not expecting such a beautiful surround. And that's actually gonna kill him. He is dead. Yeah, he's dead. Crazy, 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 crazy. GG. Clem made a very big mistake. Not realizing he was going to get surrounded. That was the big mistake. If he had sieged up faster, even with a full surround, it still would have been a more even trade. Because it was still kind of close at the very end there, right? So if he was sieged up the entire time with that many tanks, he probably would have taken a more even trade and the game's going on, even though he'd be in a worse position. But then if he also saw that his opponent was setting up for a bunch of multi-pronged attacks, because that's why I think Time was able to get this around, is because he was setting up for 2 attacks. And then he might have just turtled and waited for more Ravens. And then when he does push, eventually, after defending a few more engagements, he not only has 8 tanks hopefully sieged up as soon as he witnesses a surround being set up, he also has 8 Ravens throwing down 16 auto turrets, which actually really helps against the surround. The Marines take... I mean, they just take so much time, really, to deal with the freaking things. Not to mention they die to the auto turrets like anything else.
Resubscription received. Apparently you are doing something right, Captain.
Bazina, thank you for the 21 months. Map number 3, inside and out. Bottom left, Clem. Top right, Time. Time did exactly what he needed to, which was get a very good engagement. Otherwise, at a technical level, Marine tank, it's kind of worse. It's worse than a straight up fight against tank Viking Raven.
Resubscription
Doing well,
received.
buddy.
Apparently you are doing something right, Captain.
So if Clem had successfully moved across the map and gotten entrenched on Time's, let's say, his 5th base, it'd been very difficult for Time to break it, even with a really good surround. The tanks are sieged and the Ravens prepared and all that good stuff. He still had a couple other options, though. He could have let go of the 5th base and waited for Clem to move to his 4th and then pounced. He could have gone for a base trade. He could have hoped that Clem would have only taken the 5th base and then left. Mobility and concave ability? Surround potential really high for someone who's going more Marines really than anything else. But if you don't get it, you're in for a tough time. So we might see that end results in one of these remaining games. So we saw when the 8 racks Marine, heavy Marine dedication can work out when its position on the field is perfect, when it's amazing. We'll probably also see, maybe, 50-50 chance. We'll see another game like it where one of them does go for the tank Raven Viking, appropriately waits, appropriately gets across the map without being surrounded, and then the 8 rocks player actually looks quite desperate and just keeps, running Marines into the tank fire. But yeah, 50-50 chance. I mean, this game we have a 2 racks opener, so, Clem looking to get some early big leads. So far, it's been not happening. Neither one of them have gotten huge leads. Every time it looks like there might be a big lead, like last game with that severely delayed 3rd CC and the huge income spike for Clem, it doesn't actually end up being all that impactful. So we'll see what a 2 racks can do. Only 1 barracks in proxy. Time knew that something was up, I guess, as far as it being a factory expand, but that could be defensive. I mean, he's going for a factory expand, right? But he's the one taking all this damage. Losing the first Reaper is really quite bad. And his second Reaper now very injured. Now a Hellion will pop out soon, but Time actually decides to go for a 3rd Reaper, which is kind of interesting. A lot of times against early pressure, you see them transfer over into the Marine production because Marines produce faster. But either way, it doesn't look like his micro is going to win out. The Hellion reached for the Reaper, and it got it. But 1 Reaper for 1 Hellion, not exactly ideal. While Hellions do produce quickly, as I said, Reapers do not. Times 1 Reaper pops, dies. Second Hellion is going to be the only thing on the field that actually fights. And 3 Reapers are still alive for Clem as he continues to rally forth, as well as getting his own command center behind it, so it's not super, super dedicated. It looks like maybe with this lull, Time will be able to get a good enough defense on the high ground in particular, but he absolutely cannot reach the low ground. That is still danger zone. Oh god. Okay, it's danger zone again. Once you let these units up into the high ground, it's they get that concave. Concaves! There's no one done that yet. There's no one done a what's the word? Soundbite of someone yelling concave. That's all that TvTs are, I swear to god. And PvT, actually. GG. Okay, Clem. Finally getting this early game lead, an actual victory. I think someone pointed out earlier, absolutely, I do believe that, well, Clem would be a kind of more aggressive early game Terran anyways. But also taking advantage of Time and his very, very bad ping. Pertabilly, thank you for the 100 bits. And Stranger in a Strange Land 1, thank you for the full year. Blazer and Apollo fell asleep trying to get the treats out of the box. It kind of did. Now, did they get the treats? That's the question. Who can do more good looks? In the top left, on match points, it is Clem. In the bottom right, we have time. So a cheeky 2 racks. Not super dedicated, but still good enough. Nets Clem a very easy victory. Time with his probably, again, very bad ping to Europe. I don't know what it would be, but can't be good. It's not really in a position to do a lot of early game stuff. As much as it is sometimes theorized that, you know, an early game can benefit the guy who's in the more precarious position, because they can get the game over and done with before micro and macro and multitasking is really taxed. When it's so micro-dependent early game TvT, I think it is more prone to backfiring. So instead, if you play the long game, something that's a little more stable, so Marine tank, when the tank siege, you know, they're pretty take care of themselves. It makes sense that Time is playing more of the macro games, but nevertheless, that means that Clem can do whatever the hell he wants. Time a little less so. It means that Clem does have an advantage whenever we talk about some of the micro battles that are demanded in TvT, regardless of your openers, which are the, you know, tank, Raven, Viking scenarios. And even when it comes to Marine concaving from Time. So again, the beautiful surround in Game 3 was awesome, but Game 2 was awesome, but even that's going to be a lot more difficult if you're talking about like 200 ping. You're going to feel like you're in molasses. So just a quick shout out to Time for playing this European Open Cup to the very end and playing some solid TvT while he's at it. Yes, he's almost forced to do it, but also just being up for the challenge in general. It looks like he is finally going to try and showcase whatever micro he can with this opener. Probably more so hoping that it is kind of a surprise factor more than just straight up is my micro better than his. So if Time was up against Clem and Clem was doing the exact same opener, 2 Reapers and Hellenes being produced, right? Time might just inevitably be in the worst position. The worst position. He might just be in a terrible position. Because the micro is bound to be better for Clem. There's only so much predictive micro you can do in the battles with Reaper Hellion. So. But, you know, fortunately, it's kind of unlikely. It absolutely happens that in a TvT they do the same exact aggressive build order, but I'd say it's kind of unlikely. And Time might just be able to do it anyways. Well, actually, he stopped building Reapers, so never mind. So just going into the 2 Reaper Hellion after not building a Reaper first and foremost. So, kind of more of a defensive setup, actually. Not for the Supreme early game, because the Reapers pop out so late, but now he's going to have a little bit mobility for him. So if Clem also went to Reaper 1 Hellion, he'd certainly take care of that, no problem. If he went 4 Reapers, he'd be able to help out a lot too with this setup. And eventually go across the map, I guess. I'm on death row. It's my final meal. Probably some type of Korean food. Yeah, I can't think exactly what I'd want. Something like that. Maybe a lot of sushi, but I'd have to make sure to get it from a really good sushi place. Because I feel like Death Row ask for sushi, get gas station sushi would be quite disappointing. It's probably a factor in people's decision, isn't it? Like how averagely good food is. So like how many places mess up mac and cheese, right? So maybe you ask for that because it's kind of baseline good, or like pizza, something like that. But if I could order from a specific place and specific food, yeah. Hey, this is weird. Clem's the one going for mech. So he took the back third base, which is also open for time to take, but it doesn't seem to be his plan with the way that he's positioned his third base. He's going to go into bio. It is Clem, a person playing on his home server. A person maybe even more well-known for how, I guess, just young and fast he plays. He plays like a young Terran, like someone who's trying to almost show off, but does so very effectively. It's not just for show. He's let's go for mech, which is, by design, I think much less showy. Certainly less APM intensive, and usually something we would be bringing up for time if it wasn't for the fact that I don't think time does mech very much. So I didn't even bother bringing it up, but yeah, it's also something that we would usually be suggesting if you were dealing with server issues. All right, despite not taking the third at the back, time does take the... I mean, that doesn't seem right. And he did it before he scanned, or like as he scanned, I guess. So it's not because he saw mech versus bio. That just seems like a unideal scenario. So Clem, I mean, he had a faster command center to begin with, but then being on location, maybe an absolutely huge deal. So he's already up 10 workers. I mean, weirdly enough, this is also a scenario where I would not hate a push from Clem. As much as I am a big believer, and I always talk about this when it comes like subscriber replays, mech is not designed for early pushes. There's very, very particular and rare scenarios where you'd have a pre-150 mech push. There's a 3-fact all-in, actually I think it becomes 5-factory on 2 bases, no starport, that Innovation made. Despite being well known as someone who did the same thing over and over again, Innovation actually did innovate. Okay, I'll die in this hill. And then there's like, you know, I guess particular games and how they've moved on. But yeah, this one would have been kind of funny because it would have resulted in a base trade, so it's a good thing that Clem didn't do it. Right now, he's going to handle this about as calmly as he can. And by calmly, I also mean successfully. Because his fourth isn't up yet. So while this could have been a double-pronged attack, there's not really the second prong to attack. So it might delay the fourth command center, but that is... time needs more than that, I think, to make up for the economic deficit, and the mid-game has to go really well for the bio player, right? So, is this well enough? I don't know. We'll see. Maybe. He is still holding on to this contain. Back into the main, actually. Clem is not predicting the army movements from time quite well enough. I mean, the drop was fair game. The drop is a big surprise. That's fine that Clem was not totally prepared for that, but once you move away from that fourth base, what someone with Benedict's going to do, probably head into the main, so the Vikings are not prepared. The tanks do respond, again, as calmly as possible, but... oh, wow, yeah, Clem letting that go pretty damn fast. That was, like, one of the easiest games that time has played, probably, against mech. I just don't think that Clem is a mech player there. Yes, I want to play Versus right now. Stop it, StarCraft. His name was Innovation, not Innovations. He only had the one. Not true. He had that mech all in, and he also was the one that came up with the Mass Banshee build in like 2017. And that's the two that I really remember, but I know he had other ones. So suck it, Innovation haters. Top left of Stargazers, it is Clem. Top right, it is time. And when people come in asking for fiction book recommendations, I know one of the first things said nowadays is Brandon Sanderson. There was a post recently where someone was complaining that that was the case, especially because he has some bad religious affiliations. But for me, it's not even about that. It's that I actually really cooled off on him after the most recent Stormlight Archives book. I never really liked Mistborn as much as other people did. I thought it was basically young adult fiction, which isn't inherently bad, but it's just not what I wanted. I didn't think it was some great, super compelling masterpiece like other people did. I thought the heroine was rather cliche and the guy was basically Gary Sue. But, you know, whatever. But Stormlight Archives, I feel like books 1 and 2, I'll defend forever. Book 3 was good, and book 4 I thought was straight up boring. I skipped the majority of that book. I'm talking like flipping through pages at a time. I just did not give a shit. It might as well have been a compendium or whatever they're called, you know, like when fiction authors write the monster, book of monsters or whatever. That's what it should have been, because it was just all really, I mean, not unnecessary, but just extravagant detail of world building that I'm just like, I'm not reading fucking D&D right now. Okay, occasionally I'll read through the D&D book and I'd be like, wow, this little tidbit of information is super interesting to the world. That's not why I'm reading your damn book. So, I'm not as much of a... I'm not so cool on them that I like, am a hater now. I'm just like, I used to just, you know, be one of the first ones to also say, hey, I should definitely give it a read, but now... No. Now I feel almost, yeah, not quite Game of Thrones last season betrayed. Like, oh god, not even worth it. But it's kind of close. I mean, if the 4th book's gonna be like that, god, 5th book, hope. If it's also like that, I just give up. 5th book's like the 4th book, Stormlight Archives, I'm gonna give up on it. Alright. So what happened in this TvT? Things that are more important. Game number 5. We do have time, once again, opening up a 2 Reaper Hellion, but continuing to produce 2 Reaper Hellion. We have Clem doing the same thing. So I said that there was a chance that this would happen, although I said it was unlikely. Well, here you go. Here it is. Now, the difference right now is that Time is full on committing to a 1-1-1 1-base version of this with a medevac. Clem is trying to go for the 2-base version, Sans medevac, which gives him almost the same amount of units, but a little bit slower. And, well, it's okay, despite being down 1 unit... Wait, what? Was he down a unit? I mean, the Reaper of Clem was a little bit later. I know that much. But, okay, interesting. So Clem manages to take a slight micro lead, but does eventually start to lose out to the numbers of Time, which makes more sense. But the medic doesn't really help that dramatically when it comes to a straight up battle. Even if it was there to heal some of these Reapers, I'm not sure that's the most important thing as much as it is more important to get a concave to get the grenades down, you know? But we will see if we do have a direct engagement, which so far cannot happen. The Hellions get beautiful shots on top of Clem's Reapers. The pickup micro tries to save most of the units, but time is working against Ping right now and was working with very, very low health Hellion. So it's going to be a hold for Clem. If just barely, but it will be a hold. Oh, Hellion pops out, but, well, Cyclone pops out for Clem. Cyclone trumps these units. Unless there is just a critical mass, which we are close to being at. Fourth Reaper comes up, but one died. Grenades pop those SCVs off the mass repair of the Cyclone, and things are still very close. Damage is still being done, I think, most importantly. But we need more. We need more. We need that Cyclone to die. We need the Cyclone to die, the SCVs to fall, and then Time has repaired the build orders. But as it is, with his later command center, he is down 6 SCVs. His command center is yet to be in orbital, and he did not kill the Cyclone, which now is there to help defend against further medevac drops. Banshee comes forward, but won't be that helpful. You could see the potential, of course, because Cyclones don't... They're glass cannons, so Banshee not being locked on immediately, but adding in 3 or 4 shots could have been a big difference. It was not there. Clem's able to micros 2 Cyclones, still trying to repair them as well, not going to let them just take damage and stay that way. His Raven's still alive, and though it uses one auto turret for now, it will have an auto turret eventually, which it will be very necessary to break this tank. Time not letting go of this aggression. Oh, the AI! Oh, Clem is supposed to have that Cyclone elsewhere. I don't know if it actually would have mattered, but that is awkward. And now we have the second Raven out. The auto turret's going to come down, and things will be taken care of. And Time does not have much behind this. Oh, and he loses the Banshee as well. Oh, pain. So much pain. Time thought he could carry the momentum, and he was not right about that. Now he's still down 10 workers, but he also has less army. So if Clem wanted to counterattack, he could. Might be a little scary against someone who is relentlessly aggressive. You might be expecting another attack anytime right now, but that plus there really is no downside to Clem not attacking. Yeah, okay, I guess he doesn't attack, but I mean, he could. He could go across the map and have his own contain. Whatever he does, he'll have 10 more workers, a faster third command center, faster production on those barracks, faster engineering base, faster, faster, faster. So Clem now going to move across the map as his more forward placed third base in the triangle, as his production up and running, getting his 4th and 5th barracks a bit faster than his opponent as well. And could be the GG push. Could be. Triple Raven getting all the auto turrets slapped down. Time only gets, I think, 1 down? Maybe that was 2, but... Kind of SCD pulls just a buffer for a hot second and pulls back immediately. That's a really well done SCV pull. There's a lot of cases, I think, even amongst the pros of an unnecessary SCV pull or unnecessary long SCV pull. And then, of course, there's the truly desperate SCV pulls, which, you know, didn't matter if you SCV pulled or not. You're dead anyways. But that was well played there. Just enough to buffer and then just pulls back. Still trying to play this game out despite being in a huge deficit. I'm just taking care of some of the economy just because he can. So Clem doesn't have to win right here. He can just continue to whittle away at time. And time, and faster extend, but I guess it didn't actually matter. Didn't have enough units. Clem could easily send these 2 medevacs to the hanging natural, and then what is time going to do about that? Not much. I'm actually added on 2 more barracks. We have the 7 barracks in total, then his second factory, which is a decision. Very much an intention there. Gonna start throwing bodies at time. And there's the double drop, which I said, like, what is he gonna do about it? Even the 2 Vikings that were there are still there. I mean, there's only so much that can be done. Actually handles it quite nicely. But yeah, Clem, I think, realized that he's just gonna go for, like, a boom gotcha drop, but then realizes maybe I should take it a little bit slower. That does mean that Time now has a lot of his army over here to help defend it. So that actually was not too convincing of a double drop into the natural, was it? I ultimately think it was a good idea, and if it had started by dropping over here, it would have done a lot of damage, but oh well. Doesn't actually matter. Clem still has a substantial lead. Up 17 workers, 10 army supply. Better production, again. Still has a bit of a contain. Time tries to break it, loses 2 tanks right off the bat. So not the best break we're ever going to see, although it is looking to be a break. Yeah, okay. And Clem still has 4 bases to his opponent's 3. Still has all those workers. Still has more army supply. And now has, yeah, substantially faster 2-2. I'm actually a little surprised that Time pushes out, but I guess it is one of those, might as well puff up your feathers and hope that something goes a little bit weird. Maybe you do catch Clem awkwardly moving out, he tries to return home, turns into a bad scenario for him. Or we just go for a good old-fashioned Doom drop into the main, truly Terran's last-ditch attempt to win a game. And it did not work out. GG. Clem will take the series 3-2. And Time will be rewarded for...